Also that, of course, that's the second Orianna. It's in the second Orianna victory. 2-0 on that champion. A player that has 18 unique picks is always notable when they actually return to a champion and actually show form. And Orianna definitely seems to be a strong pick. It suits the meta. Very control meta coming in patch 5.6. And the fact that he's already on top of that suits him well going into playoffs.
Yeah, and Gamzee, they are going to react by banning away the Kalista and the Janna this time. We're completely shut out by that bottom lane, making sure that LGD have to try something completely new. Now with their final ban, we'll see what they decide to do. Of course, LGD just staying with the same bans, the Rek'Sai and the Azir hitting the bench.
Yeah, the Azir's actually been banned quite a bit against Xiao, who of course loved that champion back at the start of the season. Was another one of those Shurima duo, Shurima only, typing it in solo queue, only Shurima, only Azir or Xerath. That's what it felt like.
I live in the desert, let me stay there.
But he's definitely opened up his champion pool since then, got a massive early advantage, double Doran Ring in lane, but just couldn't make it count against the Orianna and basically got outscaled that game. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes back with. Ezreal's been his best KDA champion, but still only 2-2 with that. Maybe something new. I mean, Gamzee, this is their last hope. If they lose this game, they are actually mathematically eliminated from their already slim chances of making playoffs. So look, everything's on the line for them right now. Giving them their last chance, they need to win.
Yeah, we'll see whether they can do it here. As the cannon going to be the final ban here for LGD, and I like that. The reaction to the Janna ban here is Gamzee, they're hovering a Yorick. And look, we often say that these interesting hovers that haven't normally come through are not going to work out, but look, you never know now on the 5.6 patch.
Yeah, Yorick, Warwick, doesn't seem like they're going to go for those. Rhyming as well. Sejuani, no rhyme there, but still very powerful on patch 5.6. We've already seen multiple teams do wonderful work with the Sejuani and the layering of CC. Of course, Energy Pacemaker beating OMG with the excellent Na and Sejuani duo. Sejuani locked in first pick. Definitely been a priority pick in the LPL. Good to see it locked in.
Yeah, and it's also good to see Flame there on your screen as well. He's just hanging out, and we'll see what he decides to pick up. Of course, lots of smiles now in our LGD lineup.
And look, Teleport Smite is still hovering the same summoners that we saw come out from the Hecarim. Wouldn't be surprised to see a return of the top Flandre Shyvana that is already seeing so much popularity. Riven's being hovered, of course. It was Wayless or Godv on Riven that got them one of their defeats. That was another game that had a misfortune in it, so perhaps we shouldn't draw too much from that game. But TBQ looks like he's going to pick up the Nunu, take it away from Huey.
Yeah, Huey not going to get that Nunu, and it is going to be Flame on the horse in the top lane this time around. Just saying that, yep, I know my buddy Acorn picked that one up, but look at what I can do.
Look at what I can do. Well, I mean, if it's any indication, if his teleports are anywhere near the proficiency that we saw from Acorn, should have a massive impact on this game. Loving that use of the Skirmisher's Saber on Hecarim, diving the back, doing extra true damage, reduced damage from the carry. And suddenly, I mean, with the Sejuani, you weren't expecting a peel for the AD carry comp, but to me, this Hecarim, it almost is a blocker to any sort of Juggernaut comp.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we do have Tail actually looking at his formerly formidable Corki here as well. And do you think with the fact that Nunu and Hecarim have been locked in, of course, has switched over to the Lucian now as well, is this a big enough sort of front line here for our LGD lineup?
I mean, in general, so much Corki priority this season, and it feels like 5.6 is the end of the Corki priority, and wow, we finally see this. We've been talking about it off-air, Atlas.
Yeah.
One of the best matchups for Vayne, actually, is the skill matchup against Lucian, just because you can easily tumble Piercing Light and win those damage trades with your instant reposition in the tumble. So Imp, a noted Vayne player for many years since he entered the competitive scene back in 2011 or the start of 2012, locks in the Vayne.
Locks in the Vayne. Godv looking at Skarner here in the mid lane. You can see Wayless there just sort of like, I don't really know what I want to pick up, but we'll see whether Skarner is what it's going to be. But decides to go with the Riven.
Riven is the lock. It's going to be a mid-Riven. Probably not going to be the mid-horse. No Oceanic representatives in Keen in this game, sadly. So mid-Riven.
Hey, you don't know that. I mean, Flame is definitely a notable carry top lane player. He could be picking up the Riven in the top lane.
I guess it could be Hecarim jungle, and then following your logic, a Nunu support, bringing back Nunu Vayne for the the 0% solo queue win rate lane.
Oh, Sync Dream are now opting for his pretty standard support Master Yi. See whether that one does come through.
They're really feeling this Yorick.
They are feeling this Yorick.
It's locked in.
It's happening. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Yorick going to be picked up here, and normally seen in the top side of the map, but I'm not sure where it's going to go this time because, of course, there's a Leona there, Papa Smithy.
So it's going to be a support Leona. We'd have to assume it's probably going to be a Yorick top. But with
Yorick mid?
A Yorick mid against Riven of all mid lane matchups.
My goodness.
You spotted it out. Yorick versus Riven is our expected mid lane matchup. But with this KO hover, anything is possible.
That could be a Kayle top lane.
Sport.
Yeah. Look, I don't think that we should ever be saying things like this, Papa Smithy. We have no idea what is actually going to be locked in here for LGD because their lineup thus far looks very, very strange. I
mean, LeBlanc is the pick. Support LeBlanc, I guess, is the most likely thing in this situation.
Jungle LeBlanc would probably be what I'd put it in. Not going to be happening, though. TBQ going to be taking the jungle Riven.
And there's that bot lane, at least as of 15 seconds on the delay timer.
Oh my goodness. This is not exactly a high impact bottom lane, but it's pretty icy here for anyone that gets in range of PYL.
I mean, look, this Nunu, you let Vayne Nunu get through the laning phase. You get this lane, get to the late game. Blood Ball Vayne, you don't need any more explanation than that. That is explosive damage in the late, but man, there's low presence bottom lanes and there's Nunu Vayne. It's already a very difficult matchup, Vayne into Lucian. It's very support reliant and you have a Nunu for support in this situation. It's actually led to the top lane, Yorick.
Yep. And you can see Let Me is like, what's happening? But of course, that was his picture. That's what he looks like every single time. Sejuani now into the Riven. You think that Riven probably has a little bit more impact early on in this matchup. But and it leaves us with Xiaohu on Aurelia in the mid lane.
Aurelia versus LeBlanc. You have to feel like if you get enough MI, you're going to be able to shrug off a lot of the trade damage. You have the Equilibrium Strike to stun when the Distort comes through. These matchups are crazy, Atlas, as we go through it all. And Imp on Vayne, that's probably the most notable thing. It's still a skill matchup, but Nunu doesn't do a lot in lane.
No, he doesn't. But I mean, does Nunu do enough in order to deal with this Gamty lineup that we've got coming through here? Because this is Let Me on Yorick with Smite Teleport.
You feel like the Ice Blast will do a lot of work against the Aurelia mid, at least. There's a lot of attack speed-based champions across the board. Let Me's going to be top lane Yorick with Smite. Of course, it's very sustainable in the jungle. Of course, can have the ghouls tank up those buffs. So potentially the jungle follow from both teams with a Nunu in the game. Could be crazy.
I have no idea what's going to happen, but let's get onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for Gamty versus LGD. The first game, a whole lot of meta picks, some standard play, LGD running away with it, and now we have this game.
And I can assure you, viewers, that these champions are listed in the correct order. Top jungle mid, 80 carry support.
I think so. I'm not entirely sure. Let Me might actually be doing his best Acorn impression here, but not going to be as far up, and him just going to be able to get a tumble auto on him, and there's the shield to come through as well. Let Me going to be safe this time. Actually heading out just to see whether that cheeky lane swap ward is coming through, because LGD, they do not want to be in a 2v2.
And on this side of the jungle, this was where, of course, Acorn, not Flame, but Acorn last game was caught out. So the 5-man invade, much like we saw from Gamty, not going to get exactly the same results. You're going to get wards down. You have to say at level 1, if you skill the consume on Nunu, you have so much buff control with 2 smites and a consume. But man, if you enter lane as Nunu Vayne and the Nunu has Consume, we're talking about low lane pressure and there's Nunu with Consume. Literally can do nothing.
Why didn't PYL take Smite as well? Imagine that, the buff control.
Well, I feel like we need to wait for Snake to play to see the infamous triple Smite action. Double Smite, people stayed reserved so far. And Xiaohu's doing a lot of damage level 1.
Yeah, you can hear the crowd yelling about this one as well. I mean, that Blade Surge onto the backline minion, managing to get a whole lot of auto attacks, and then Blade Surge again? Lots of damage here under Godby thus far in this lane. Of course, does have some potions there, some biscuits in order to heal himself back up, and see what happens when level 2 is hit, because that's when Aurelia is really going to start being a problem. Blade Surges himself to PYL, who just does a drive-by Ice Blast.
A drive-by Ice Blast. Shades of Season 1 Nunu ganks coming through. Doesn't have Consume for the Consume Ice Blast maneuver to push the lane in.
Oh, cute.
But able to throw out the Ice Blast anyway. And as you mentioned, they get the lane swap they desperately needed, LGD. They could not look for a 2v2. So in all this craziness, double Smite, lane Nunu coming through, Xiaohu on mid lane Aurelia. It's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, but look at Xiaohu. He's actually playing this lane really, really nicely. Able to Blade Surge around. Almost looks like Yasuo here in this lane. just launching himself around onto these minions, keeping himself relatively up there as far as that health is concerned, and continuing to stay up with the farm.
I guess we don't know if Irelia is one of his mid lane champions. Maybe it's just his top lane fallback if he's forced onto the top lane role. But there's the trade damage. Godvi will get away, doesn't have any points in his hit end style just yet. So the sustain not quite there, and definitely chunking through the flask and potions. Yeah,
still has a few potions there, but let me look at these ghouls tanking up the turret. Sync Dream hangs around as well as Huey's here to help out. Let me at level 2, Yorick pretty good in the jungle.
And the thing about Yorick jungle is, of course, the jungle pressure is very low, but he's so sustainable. The deceptively high health in any situation. Now a top lane Yorick, you can just have so much dragon control in this game. They're going to get it completely. They don't even have to exit lane for very long, just because Yorick, he just sits there and whacks away with his shovel.
Yeah, and Godvi now in a fair bit of trouble. There's the flash into the Equilibrium Strike as well. Oh my goodness, Sync Dream lands it! There's the exhaust, and first blood going to Huey here on the Sejuani.
And you could see how much they wanted it. Triple flash was expended to pick up the kill, so even the always slippery Wayless fell down. That's a kill down to Gamti to answer, and a dragon actually as well. It's a good start there for Gamti.
Yeah, and look at Tail playing so aggressively under this turret. Flame and POL need to be very careful as it's a 4v2 here. See whether Gamti can actually juggle the aggro as only 2 creeps left. Is going to mean that that permafrost from Huey going to help out there as getting a little bit of damage done, but LGD going to survive another wave. And the junglers are going to head back.
Yeah, it was a very good timing to come through. If it was just a little bit earlier, there would have been more minions tank up. If it was the siege minion wave especially, it would have been a turret dive. But LGD able to stave off the threat. With the Nunu, going to be able to hold these waves. And Nunu Hecarim is your pseudo 2v2.
Oh yeah, look at that Blood Boil doing so much work under Flame here as the
gives him damage, of course, with movement speed.
Look at
Never forget.
Multiplicative scaling, Papa Smithy, as TBQ does manage to land the stun here onto Sync Dream, but Tail is going to be the target here for Flame, as there's the heal going to be popped and summon a spell down. LGD, they'll take that trade.
And I guess I'll always wonder, Flandre, was he just ahead of the meta, or was he just trying one of these creative maneuvers like Ashe, like Misfortune, and just came off? Because in the craziness, you try enough things, something's going to stick.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and this is 5.6. This is the patch of crazy, Papa Smithy, as Xiaohu not going to quite find the reset on his Q there. Now has to wait for another 8 seconds before he can do anything creative there in the back line. And Godvi heading back to lane, 5 CS advantage, but double longswords being picked up from Xiaohu. And I wonder what that means as far as his item build is concerned, because Brutalizer not generally an Aurelia choice, but might be going for that Bilgewater Cutlass early.
If I was a betting man, I'd expect a rush of the Hex Drinker just to negate the trade damage. And it's one of those situations where you buy a longsword for laning, and then you just don't have enough gold for no magic mana, so maybe it was just forced into double longsword. I could be wrong. I mean, Yoma's Ghostblade was once upon a time a very popular Aurelia item, but I think it's just the case that 720 gold, 20 AD, it's a pretty good exchange rate.
I think you were just watching a little bit too much PDD, my friend. But there is going to be the Zenith Blade onto Flame there as well, as Tail getting a lot of damage down with that passive, that Light Slinger coming through.
You have to say so defensively. Only the Rampage, only 350 range farming available on Hecarim. No flash. Of course, Teleport Smite is the summoner choice. You have to respect any potential engage from the Zenith Blade.
TBQ is looking for this Rift Scuttler.
Doesn't have his Q available, so couldn't hop over the wall. 2 members, but it's only Yorick Sejuani, neither of them level 6, so not too much respect has to come out there.
In fact, Yorick's level 3. So
6 is a while away.
A whole lot thus far. That does have a decent jungle follow, as Xiaohu just going to Blade Surge around these minions. The distortion damage definitely relevant here coming through from Godvi, as now Xiaohu able to farm up under this turret. Definitely a thing that Aurelia does want to be doing, as the chain going to land as well. Not many of them have been missing so far from Wayless. He's been playing this LeBlanc very, very effectively, but the gold very even so far, and it's quite strange with First Blood already going down in favor of Gamti. Their farm definitely eclipsing that of the Gamti members so far.
I guess one thing to note is that, of course, we do have a Yorick top, so you want to see a consistent damage dealer that you can ult. It's usually the AD carry, but maybe the result will be Xiaohu going for a more damage-focused Aurelia build, and it's the Yorick Revive coming through for consistent damage in the fight. There's a lot of factors to consider when you have Yorick Mori on your team.
Yeah, well, hasn't been... oh my goodness, the steal away from the steal.
He got vision from the Wolf Spirit.
Oh my, I thought he almost got vision by jumping up with his third Q, looking over the top. Oh, there it is. I'll take it.
So the fail Q into vision. Not
so
quite,
smooth.
but I mean, the Wolf Spirit in general is crazy enough. And yeah, bonus blue buff.
Yeah, not bad at all. TBQ, of course, doesn't really mind about a blue buff there. Does like the cooldown reduction, but doesn't have any mana to speak of. But stealing it away here from Gamty, we're going for a cheeky maneuver.
Stealing it from his own team.
Yeah, and Let Me actually going to be taking his as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Let Me's been the big loser in this early phase, despite having much safer laning phase, much better range farm compared to a Hecarim. Actually down 23 CS, hasn't entered lane this whole time, so you have to say the lane control from LGD has been far superior to that of Gamty to allow a Hecarim 38 CS in this situation, more than you'd expect.
Yeah, Let Me is actually towards his top side, but look at level 5 Yorick. PWL gets the Ice Blast, and he is so dead. Deary, deary me. It is going to be TBQ picking up that kill. Imp probably would have liked it, but I mean, that is most definitely not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the Yorick dying. And assists and kills going to LGD as there's the ult to come through. Flame gets stunned after the fact, though, as the ult comes down. There's the flash, though, into the Zenith Blade. Sync Dream really going aggressive on this one, and Flame going to be taken down, and Sync Dream picks up the credit.
It feels like the cooldown on Flash for Sync Dream is super low. Just saw him flashing in the mid lane, comes back off cooldown. Another aggressive maneuver comes off for Gamty. You have to say the jungle pathing from TBQ to be top the first time the minion wave hit the turret and punish Yorick Mori, who wasn't even showing in lane. Just excellent jungle pathing for a second time coming through from LGD. And TBQ, maybe the most criticized member of this LGD lineup, is really coming to play as we move into playoffs.
Yeah, and it's only getting him further and further ahead here as well, who's now going to be able to auto-attack this top lane turret. You can see Godby there on the little screen at the bottom there, just looking like he's basically asleep this game.
It reminds me actually of the Uzi Vayne performance when he was in a 1v0 and bought a Blade of the Ruin King first up. 99 CS already, now 100 for Vayne. And no shop has come through. You can this all comes back from level 1 Atlas. Getting this lane swap, 100 CS in the laning phase for Vayne has just been so big, and it would not have happened 2v2 with this lane matchup.
Oh, Sync Dream lands a Zenith Blade after the Condemn comes through as well. There's the flash actually from Huey's PYL. He's the focus tail. Piercing lights him to death as Imp trying to get some damage back in response.
Imp
but
needs to just get away. He's got no items compared to BF Pickaxe. I mean, there's no trade damage coming through. He just needs to get the hell out of there. He's going to back away. Should be a nice turret rotation coming through from Gamty smartly. Though, as you can see on your minimap, Riven's around.
Yeah, TBQ looking for something. Imp still with just a Doran's Blade. Hanging out here. Tail's going to get stunned up by TBQ, but not for too long as Flame's going to teleport in. Xiaohu looking for the kill here as the Ignite's actually down. But the chains, of course, landing here as well. Godby not going to fall. He's just going to back out of this one just fine.
And Blade of the Ruin King looks to be the first pickup. Already has the Bilge Water, so the lifesteal. It's not quite a Hex Drinker, but it seems to be doing a treat. And with the high base stats that Aurelia has, so far she's been completely unharassed in this lane matchup against LeBlanc.
Yeah, speaking of Blade of the Ruin Kings, Imp just went back and bought his outright.
And that's the thing. It all shows how important the lane swap was, and this looked like another dive coming onto Flame.
Yeah, Shield of Daybreak. There's the ultimate there as well as Flame is most definitely dead towards his top side.
Couldn't even use it.
Nope. Not going to happen as the layering of the Leona CC a little bit too strong.
Absolutely, and the layering of CC, of course, on 5.5, 5.6. No longer those little moments when you can use flash, when you can use displacement abilities. If you layer it correctly, and we've seen that so often with those Sejuani games like we mentioned from EP last week, and just from the Leona play here, suddenly Leona's so much more effective, because if you layer your CC, ideally you're getting, what, 3 seconds of consistent CC, and even the tanky Hecarim dies instantly.
Nothing you can do, of course. Doesn't have flash, but that Onslaught of Shadow is normally used here for these escape scenarios if you need it. Flame unable to. And Imp, he's transitioning lanes, has managed to take down the top lane out of turret, and now with the Blade of the Ruin King, going to be a whole lot more safe towards this bottom side as they decide they want to be able to push that one in. No Dragon's going to be taken yet for LGD. Gamty picking up theirs very early on this game.
But how crazy is it that in a matchup, a Vayne Nunu lane is the only lane that's actually doing well for LGD in terms of overall score and pressure. Blade of the Ruin King first pickup, it might come up trumps, even though Gamty otherwise are winning this game.
But there's the ultimate from Xiaohu. Massive damage there as TBQ just gets destroyed. Another chain lands to stop Xiaohu in his tracks. But we'll see whether the Mercury's threats come through, because then in the middle of a team fight, that chain is going to stun him for what? You know, 0.2 of a second?
Absolutely. Already has the natural tenacity from the passive now. Going to build towards the Merc Treads eventually. Wow, just looking for early damage in general. This is obviously going to be a high damage build that we speculate. It looks like it's going to synergize very well with Yorick, because Trinity Force Blade the Ruin King is all we can assume for a Machine and a Bilge War to start.
Completely ridiculous. Skirmisher Saber is being opted for here by Let Me after that tier to come through as well. Cinderhulk going to be the option at the same time as Sync Dream just hanging out here in the mid lane, as he very much enjoys. And they have a massive wave to hand over here to Wayless as well, who's going to distort that one to death. Gamty looking to continue the pressure here, but Flame, he's on the blue buff.
You're definitely seeing old Flame here, not necessarily 2014 Flame. 40 CS advantage, going and finding blues wherever he can. He's been so good at finding CS.
Speaking of finding things that they shouldn't have, Flame is found out here by Sync Dream. That Solar Flare was wonderful, but doesn't quite get the Shield of Daybreak in time. But Xiaohu, he is going to be able to secure that blue buff.
And from memory, I believe Leona's his most played champion this season, Atlas. And you can see the mechanics coming through on Sync Dream are excellent and a wonder to behold.
Yeah, and especially one of his most successful champions here as well in this Leona, able to roam around this map, as we've seen demonstrated, as Huey's just going to smite away these Raptors. Of course, the Raptor buff so useful for clearing out this vision, as it's already going to get procced here by that ward there down near the river.
You just worry that the early rotations allowing him to get a free lane, a free Blade of the Ruin King before grouping might become a factor longer and longer this game goes, but the early rotations and laning phases have definitely been Gamtees as they're looking for a third outer turret.
Yeah, Infinity Edge has been completed here by Tail as well, and we talk about Vayne as being a late game hyper carry. Lucian is no slouch in the late game either, and Tail, if he can relentlessly pursue his way around these team fights, really get into the right positions, he could be a force to be reckoned with as well, as Flame looking for Xiaohu, but not going to find anything here.
I mean, Imp has been playing surprisingly defensive this whole game. Even though he was down the bottom lane, he was actually freezing the creep wave, even 15 minutes in, not causing any global pressure. That, of course, opens up the smart, aggressive rotations. But speaking of aggression...
Yeah, Huey, you are in so much trouble. Oh, the Arctic Assault, he gets trapped in the wall here as TBQ is going to take him down. PWL takes half of his health. There's a Soul Flare onto him. Xiaohu right in the back line as well, but he's getting torn apart. Not the tanky Aurelius that we're used to, as the Ignite ticking down. He is eventually going to fall, and 4 dead out of nowhere on the side of Gamty for just Imp.
Yeah, and the 4 is going to become 5.
Yeah, poor little Let Me, as TBQ not going to fall down either. And has he made it to level 6? He has, but the ultimate wasn't used there by Let Me. I don't think he had any mana.
He didn't have any mana. It wouldn't have had any effect, barring buying a little bit of time. Gamty, their rotations have been on form. 3 outer turrets at a very fast clip to punish him for holding the wave. But this is the result of all of it. So Huey, I don't know how he didn't make it over this cove. Wait for this Arctic Assault. Very awkward.
Oh, he was trapped out of it there by Flame, who devastating charged him.
I mean, it was just insane that first kill came down. It looked good when Imp was completely knocked up. Didn't die instantly, but the solo dive against 4 group members grouped. Of course, Blood Bowl riding on Imp. They have a lot of... If you dive into this LGD team, you're going to definitely feel the pain. And ironically, Let Me teleported late once again and found a party he was not invited to.
Yeah, and he was not interested in really being a part of either, of course. Didn't bring anything of his own. He didn't bring a plate of food or any manners. There's the flash into the distortion here by Godby, who decides to miss every ability and get Zenith bladed here as well, as Tail looking to try and pick up the kill, and does relatively easily. Flame teleported in. The ult does get the stun there with the Solar Flare, but Onslaught of Shadow is going to get him to safety, and Gamty, they're going to start off their second Dragon of the game.
Definitely not a clip that will be contained on any Wayless highlight reels for his LeBlanc play there. No. Just poor mechanical play. Opens up a kill. I mean, LGD were just getting back into this game. They just aced the Gamty lineup. They closed the Goldie that had managed to grow. But things are suddenly looking good for Gamty again. The rotations continue.
Oh, and Flame is just getting so much attention on this map. Tail doing a lot of damage. Sync Dream netting himself another kill. And our friend Doa would definitely be proud of this support play.
I mean, very bloodthirsty support play. But Imp and PYL need to be more involved in this game. Spent so much time freezing waves, hanging back, not grouping with the team. Gamty are grouping and taking advantages all over the map. 2,500 gold is the lead again, and they keep pushing.
Yeah, and actually, Imp, they do manage to get the inner turret there on the bottom side, but of course, this turret is an inhibitor turret, and it's already dead here for Gamty. They've broken through the base, as TBQ might be in trouble here as well, as Tail Very aggressive on this Lucian, throwing an Ardent Blaze back as well. LGD not going to lose an inhibitor this time around, but losing 2 turrets in a row for 1. Probably not the trade that LGD were looking for.
Yeah, the rotational play definitely poor from LGD, and Flame once again.
Flame can just not find an area without 4 members of Gamty in it at all on this map.
And he was 40 CS ahead of his lane opponent. Look at Yorick now, he's only 10 CS behind. Flame has spent the better part of the last 5 minutes with a gray screen, kind of pondering his life choices dead on this rift. And Yorick's found CS. LGD in general been completely out-rotated. You sub out Akon, you bring on Flame, and suddenly the rotations, for whatever reason, have gone away.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they do have Let Me there, so Flame wants to spend so much time in the Death Chamber. He can efficiently get there. Grave digging definitely going to be available for our Gamty squad, as Godv or Wayless going to just distort his way into a brush. Checking for some pink wards there as he heads back to his original position.
And with any other top laner than Yorick Mori, this would be a very poor build choice, going double damage items against a LeBlanc, Hecarim, Riven top sign of trio, but when you've got Yorick Mori for the potential consistent damage while you're dead, it's actually fine to go full DPS Aurelia in the mid, and she has to be respected. She does crazy burst and sustained damage.
Yeah, and there's the culling to come through from Tail, just eradicates this wave. Now with his 2-item power spike here as well with the Static Shiv, a lot of burst to come out very early on with that particular duo of items. The guaranteed crit from the Static Shiv going to be a lot of damage. Tail definitely scaling through this one. Imp probably looking for a Phantom Dancer moving into this game. He does have the Alacrity enchantment already completed.
A double Alacrity. There must be some theory crafters on the LGD analyst lineup that really value that extra 20% movement speed early, because they're 2 games.
Echo Vein.
Luden's Echo Vein. I think that's probably a bridge too far. Even in seedings week here, Atlas. Probably not going to be any AP Veins coming through, though. We've spoken to earlier and seen a Nunu support, so anything's possible.
Anything is possible. Ultimate Bravery LGD play to come through here potentially, but no, that Zeal probably going to be definitely towards that Phantom Dancer, and then maybe...
PYL?
Oh, we could have some dangerous plays here. PYL just going to get exploded here. TBQ as well on the backside. Gamty with the flank attacks, and now Imp with all of the attention. The double kill for Tail. 3 instantly dead members, and Gamty another early Baron this game as Godv going to distort over the edge. Not going to get caught out, but there's no way he's stealing this Baron from 2 smites.
We'll wait and see. It seems unlikely, but with the timings required for double smite, anything is possible.
Oh, there is still a smite here. Of course, Flame's there. They do manage to get the Baron there. Yorick managing to smite that one down as Flame again gonna die. And Let Me picks up his first kill of the game.
And you just worry for even Vayne in these team fights. So many backline divers.
Wow. Xiaohu actually manages to get killed before the Equilibrium Strike goes off. Godv's gonna die. Tail picks up that kill, and Xiaohu just typing worth pretty efficiently there in chat. And TBQ, he's got a lot of armor penetration, but no tanky stats at all.
Yeah, so we're going to see the replay. PYL goes for the face check, instantly dies as expected, even as the Nunu support not tanky enough. TBQ caught by the Sejuani Glacial Prison as well, and Imp dies instantly. So it's a free Baron in this situation. They picked it up quite happily after that, but the fight continues.
Yeah, there's actually the ultimate through onto TBQ there as well. He does have the Wind Slash available, looking for Huey, but he doesn't fall down. Let Me here as well. Solar Flare, couple of stuns. Imp going to be locked up here for a little while as well, as Huey looking just to get out. Of course, no objectives around this area of the map whatsoever. No point in really fighting as Gamty. They're just going to take the Rift Scuttler and Let Me. More than happy to lock that one away. And we'll see when this Manamune comes through, because he's been sitting on this tier for quite some time, has Let Me.
And the Wayless actually being the one member to lose Baron buff will be very significant for LGD, because no one can trade damage with Wayless as strong as, Xiaohu falling down. Wayless picking up the kill on Xiaohu is significant, because Xiaohu at the moment is just untradeable. No one can look to split against it. If he had the Baron buff, it'd be free objectives being seeded by LGD, or multiple members required to deal with him. Him not having Baron closes one strategic loophole here for Gamty, and might buy LGD enough time to just get back into this game, because the early game has been completely run by Gamty.
Yeah, and already, I mean, Tail, he's on his way to those Berserker's Greaves, has an extra BF sword here as well. Looks like the Bloodthirst are going to be the next option as Gamty. Lots of damage going down on this inner turret in the mid lane as Zenith Blade comes through from Sync Dream. A little bit of zoning to happen there.
There is no wave clear on LGD's side.
No, they are not able to do too much at all apart from... Oh, there's actually the Glacial Prison. Not going to find anything there as they're looking to get Godby out of this fight immediately. But, of course, the inhibitor turret going to fall down. PYL just gets destroyed. Flame now in a whole lot of trouble. Where's Imp? My goodness, finally into the fight here as Tail's going to take down another kill, but Tail's dead in the back line. My goodness, the double kill for Tail eventually towards the end there as Imp. He's going to get taken down because that's the Yorick ultimate, the triple kill to come through. And I think LGD may have forgotten about the Ghost, just like I may have.
And Xiaohu's still alive, chasing Imp. They just want to stop Imp from teleporting back, but Sync Dream's fast.
Yeah, Sync Dream's fast, but doesn't have a whole lot of damage as Let Me does manage to land the slow. The Zenith Blade not going to find him as the Skirmisher Saber onto Let Me there as well. As, my goodness, Godby comes through the backside, but Sync Dream's going to be okay with that face of the mountain, and Xiaohu looking to try and get this LeBlanc.
But Godfrey actually buys enough time for Imp to get out, so excellent bit of support coming through from the mid laner. Lets Imp survive. Base once again is completely in ruins. Gumty going to pick up a Dragon. I believe this is their third. 3-0 will be the Dragon score. And Gumty well on the way to winning this game.
Yeah, although LGD, I mean, they saved 2 inhibitors, you have to think, by having that chase happen.
And they did, but I mean, the next push will come through. No wave clear available, so these turrets, very difficult for them to protect.
Yeah, sorry about my little arm there, but that's a double BF sword coming out from Tail. He just wants damage.
Absolutely. He's just looking for trade damage, I guess, in this situation. So Gumty, they get the free turret because there's no wave clear whatsoever. PYL does instantly to 1 piercing light in general. Flame, as usual, he has to eventually re-engage. It's a suicide re-engage, of course. They do get the kill onto Tail, but the Yorick ult riding on him already means the consistent damage doesn't stop in this situation. They keep fighting. Tail's still doing a lot of damage despite the damage reduction when you're in that Yorick ult form. And it just feels like LGD are getting preyed upon. I think Imp's used his ult, though.
Yeah, that's because Tail is most definitely dead as we get back into this one. Flame's going to get locked down, but that's not Imp, and Imp needs to be dealt with here. Doesn't get stunned up, but gets knocked up there by the Arctic Assault. Exhausted there as well, and he's going to die. PYL gets a full channel, but this support... Nunu not doing too much.
He wants the turret.
Yeah, looks for it. TBQ is there with a fair bit of damage. Looks to try and get some stuns off here as Letme's going to get chained up. Godby trying to get some work done, and there's the distortion. TBQ picks up the kill, but he's going to die for it. And Huey and Sync Dream very, very low. Godby trying to dodge around under this turret. Oh, the auto attack, not quite enough. There's Wayless. Tries to do the best that he can as the last man standing. Tail back to life again as well, heading towards this mid lane, but this outer turret is going to fall down, and Wayless not going to go overly aggressive onto this support.
He looked for the bonus kill on the support, wasn't able to get it, waiting for his ult cooldown to come back. It's back!
It's back, looking for it, nails it.
Nice LeBlanc mechanics coming through. Not necessarily been the most successful LeBlanc players. We look over to people like Pawn and Cool, but is LeBlanc still to be feared, still an excellent assassin player, despite the fact that we've seen him on so many wave clear champions recently.
Yeah, we have, and I mean, his Orianna has most definitely been mechanically brilliant to watch. His Diana as well has been highlight reel worthy, but hasn't been necessarily the LeBlanc player that we've been looking for, but this game has been able to pick up some cheeky kills around this map. 4, 3, and 5 now. Morellonomicon completed. Does have a needlessly large rod, and of course, that Void Staff as well, with the Spirit Visages completed now as well, and the Locket of the Iron Solari. Definitely a relevant choice here. And one thing that I do like is the fact that this extra BF sword's been picked up by Tail, and when you've just been altered by Yorick and you're just a clone when you're still alive, that's just doing auto attack damage. That's just doing your base attack damage. I don't even know whether you can actually crit during that as well. So having extra flat DPS is a very, very good idea.
It is still reduced by the Yorick Ghoul. When you respawn, you do have the reduced AD, so maybe not getting the effectiveness in that situation, but Lucian scales so well on AD and all his abilities apart from the Ardent Blazer. It's not a bad pickup at all. Vayne and Nunu are now a very threatening duo. 4 points in the Blood Boil. The Mikhail's completed by Nunu. They have to respect this Vayne damage, but they got so much consistency. See, Flame's the one to tell his teammate Imp about the CC they have in this game. They need to respect the CC too, but if Vayne finds the right engage, there could potentially still be life in this LGD lineup.
Yeah, but not in this inhibitor in the mid lane as Flame looks for the flank there as well. Xiaohu's going to be the target there as Tail sort of zoned out of this one. The culling going to be used as Godby. That's his Mimic. TBQ very, very low here as Xiaohu has finished off the LeBlanc here as well as Flame's going to take him down in response. Imp looking to kite away as there's the ult to come through. The Wind Slash not really doing too much, and this is going to be the inhibitor now, the focus here for Gamty as they've managed to eradicate 2 members of LGD for 1.
And the Gamti rotations this game against a no wave clear lineup have been excellent. This time they pull off the right team fight. They get the double inhibitor. They're not looking to finish this game. A lot of respect being shown to the Vayne, Riven, Hecarim duo that is still alive. Waiting to see if they're going to pick up any advantage. Of course, no Dragon available. Baron looks like too much of an objective to pick up. There's no wards whatsoever down the map from LGD, barring 1 pink around the Dragon, and it's just going to be a free shopping trip for Gamti.
Yeah, TBQ is just going to broken wings these Raptors, and he's going to find himself a ward here as well. Little trinket ward hanging out in this brush, and he's going to be able to get a ward himself. You have to think on this Baron. Not actually going to decide to, as all of the vision has run out now as well for Gamti. You can pick that one up if they want to.
So Xiaohu's actually gone surprisingly tanky. I guess they want to keep the Yorick ultimate for the AD carry, despite the fact it's definitely a consistent damage. Frontline diver in Xiaohu's got the Frozen Heart. Looks like he's working towards a Banshee Veil, perhaps, with his first 2 item pickups. LGD, they're looking for any sort of information to get a pick, but using this time Gamti very well, trying to pick up a Baron.
Yeah, they do have it pink warded as well, down to half health here. As you can see, Let Me just taking no damage from this one. Tail using his passive to great effect, already down to 1,000 health, and that is secured now for Let Me. No health going to be lost by these members doing the Baron. POL going to notice that there's some purple runes spinning around this team of Gamti. And LGD have to be careful fighting them as well, especially with super creeps around Flame. Of course is the focus here as the culling comes through, and the horse, he's amazing, but he's going to die. TBQ going to get stunned up here as well as Xiaohu looked for it. TBQ, the hero play, not going to come through as the Solar Flare sort of just for fun in the backside. Wayless, of course, going to land another chain. The distortion comes through, but Vayne's going to die. Wayless looking to try and escape this one as the passive pops. And they secure the kill. I thought that was the Mimic.
Accepts his fate. They could finish the game in this situation. It's 5 members dead. Ace comes through despite Lucian falling down. Irelia's still got a lot of damage. That's 2 super minion waves. So this should be the game to Gamti. And the slimmest of hopes, but not eliminated from playoffs just yet.
Yeah, not just yet. It does rely on a whole lot of different factors, but Gamti, they stay in it with a hope. That's if they do decide to hang around and actually take down this dang Nexus. As the rest of Gamti, they're looking to pick up their 4th Dragon.
I feel like this is a bit of manners coming through. They definitely could have finished the game, but they're more interested in picking up the Dragon and prolonging the game for LGD. Not sure if game time will become a relevant statistic as we move into our playoff rankings. But the result is the Dragon comes down, the shops come through, and Lucian's got quite a few items.
He does, actually picking up a late game Brutalizer here as well, as Nexus is going to be protected here by LGD. Massive minion wave there towards the top side as the Empowered Recall going to be thrown out by Xiaohu after pushing out that wave. Not wanting to stay there on his own as he's going to go back and pick up a couple more items. And let's see a replay of that last fight.
So once again, Flame gets caught. Still very tanky. Has to re-engage because the defensive ult, he probably still would have died during the channel anyway. They get the secondary pick onto TBQ, who will fall. The only member that comes down is when Wayless really goes for the kill and picks up the Lucian after the Yorick ultimate, crucially, at timeout. Xiao, who has a lot of consistency in the front line with the Equilibrium Strike when he falls low himself. Being a focused target, you have to take down the DPS Irelia, but the fight's back on.
Yeah, Imp is going down very, very low, but kiting effectively here as well. Huey does pick up the kill there eventually, and TBQ's going to die at the same time. Sync Dream locking that one down as he actually got ulted there, a little bit cute by the Yorick.
Gamti, for whatever reason, are going for the tutorial victory. They should just rush down mid. There's nothing to take down whatsoever. Ride the super creeps, but they want to just get down every structure possible to finish this game.
I guess get as many turrets there on the scorecard, potentially. I'm not entirely sure whether this is an exam and you need to make sure that you do everything for the extra credit.
I mean, the cramming has definitely been on point. The checklist has been checked a couple of times. Gamti, they just want to go for the tutorial victory and get every single structure.
What do they get now, though? Do they have to make sure that they kill every single ward on the map?
The 5th Dragon's coming in a little while, Atlas.
Yes. Sit around Dragon Pit for 4 minutes. No problem there at all, Gamti. I like your decision making. You've taken everything else available. Blue buff going to be taken down here as well. Oh, no.
Oh, they got it. Secured the Grum.
And that's going to be the surrender as the culling came through. Aimed in the wrong direction. LGD, they tap the mat. And Gamti, you have to think probably could have won that a little bit sooner, but still a victory is a victory nonetheless.
Yeah, it was an interesting way to end the game. We're not looking for the fast close. Strange things being seen on the Rift is not something surprising in the LPL, though. The handshakes still come through. 1-1's the score. As we mentioned, Gumty all but eliminated, but in the perfect world, if the stars completely align, we might still see them in the playoffs. Yeah,
and still smiles here as the handshakes come through. Definitely happy to be on the Rift here, as actually Flame not smiling so much, but he got focus fired so heftily that game. But ladies and gentlemen, we still have a big day of LPL to come. 3 more matchups heading towards you, and you can see Wayless on your screen there wrapping up his keyboard in dismay after that relatively appalling play towards Tail in the bottom side of the map. But things going well so far for LGD, despite the fact that they just went 1-1.
And World Elite fans in general will have their eyes trained on the stream next game, Atlas, because it will be M3 taking on EP. And if M3 pick up the 2-0, World Elite are eliminated from playoff contention.
And this is a massive one. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a short break, but afterwards, M3 taking on